I'm going to talk to you about keeping badges weird. And when I talk about keeping badges weird, I'm effectively just talking about open recognition. Because when we talk about keeping badges weird, what we're trying to do is to say, oh, you people who do micro-credentials all the time, there's another way of doing this. So here's a couple of diagrams that we tend to use when we're talking about keeping badges weird. And these are all drawn by Brian Mathers, who's a member of our co-op, We Are Open. So those of you who will know your kind of sporting analogies will recognize this kind of drawing. England last won the World Cup in 1966, the Football World Cup. So this is kind of an example of that. Someone winning the World Cup and holding it aloft. That's the credential. But the recognition comes from the teammates, from the audience, from the spectators. So we're trying to kind of separate the two. And just to kind of drive this point home, another way of thinking about it is that every single time that you issue a credential, you're also recognizing the other person. And in fact, you can't really give a credential without the recognition. The recognition is actually the important bit, which is why we're here today. So this recognition kind of surrounds the credentialing. So I signed the Bologna Open Recognition Declaration 5 years ago now. So there's my badge for I'm on board and everything like that on Open Badge Factory. But here's another badge that I was issued earlier this year. This is the Hofmeister badge, kind of channeling David Hasselhoff and his role in Baywatch. And we designed this badge in the community that I'm going to talk about today for people who come to the rescue of other people online, for people who are a bit stuck and someone comes along and saves them, like David Hasselhoff used to in Baywatch. So it's kind of a fun badge, but also it recognizes people doing an important behavior within a community. My favorite badge that I've ever been issued is this one. So this is the badge which we kind of invented for you on a call, someone in a different time zone, and for you, it's entirely appropriate to get out a bottle of whiskey and pour yourself a whiskey. But for the other person, they're still on breakfast time. And if that other person doesn't blink and doesn't say that it's inappropriate for you to start drinking whiskey in the conversation, then they can be given the whiskey test badge. Now, my point is, you can issue a badge to anyone for anything, as I've been saying for 10 years now. Yeah? And so the value of the badge comes from all different kinds of aspects in that badge. All of our experiences have value, and they make us who we are today, to make sure that we're not just all the same people. Our experiences have value. And it's trying to take us from this very broad brushstroke, here's me on LinkedIn approach, into a fully rounded, this is what makes me different from other people. That's the weirdness of us all. The weirdness is what makes us, us. This is Anna. This is a real person. It looks like a stock photo, but it's actually Anna, who's one of the members of our co-op's niece, and she was our intern. She's now our collaborator. And this is a true story. In 2021, we took on Anna as our intern in our co-op, and we designed a whole program for her in terms of what the internship would look like. And of course, because we're so into badges, and I used to work for the Mozilla Open Badges team, and some of the members of our co-op were at Mozilla as well, we designed some badges for her, because why wouldn't you do that? And she told us that those badges bore no relationship to what she actually wanted to do with her internship. So we ended up designing with her badges. And that's the important thing to do, to make sure that badges are relevant to the person who's earning them. So one of the first badges that she co-designed with us, Anna's German, was that getting over herself, and there's a big long German word for this that I don't know, but kind of jumping over your own shadow, like getting over yourself. And so she wanted to earn that badge to recognize that she had the confidence to represent our co-op to other people, to put forward her ideas, to kind of not hide in the shadows, but to kind of jump over her own shadow. So she designed with us all different kinds of badges, like taking over projects, the pick up the reins badge, learning how to plan stuff, getting over our own shadow, onboarding into our systems and stuff. So when we are talking about badges, credentials, micro-credentials, whatever we're calling them today, it's worth thinking about the value of what it is that we're creating. And we can't always control the value of a badge, because we can maybe have some issuer value, like we know that this is MIT, or this is the Normandy government, or this is We Are Open, or this is Doug, or this is Serge. We can control that. We can't really control the meaning that people put on top of it. We can maybe have some endorsement value and say where it is as part of a pathway. But the thing we can't control is the viewer perception. We can't control the person who's looking at this badge, what experiences they're bringing to it. And that's particularly important in recognition, because recognition is all about the relationship between two parties. And you can do as much as you want on this side, but if the person doesn't like you or doesn't like your organization, it's not going to make much difference. So there we go. So the Keep Badges Weird community is housed on Participate. It's a collaboration between Participate and We Are Open, and we've got about 300, just over 300 members of the community now. Anyone can join. You're very welcome to join. You'll get a badge for joining. I'll tell you how to do that in a moment. We have community calls. We have a whole different load of badges for learning about badges, for learning about communities of practice, for saving one another from awkward discussions, from all different kinds of things, stealth badges as well. So you can earn badges for introducing yourself, creating value for others, reflecting on your own learning, but also for studying about what are badges, what are communities of practice, turning into a moderator, all different kinds of badges for different kinds of things. Some are what you would expect to be credentials, others are more on the side of recognition. So we started off with these kinds of badges here, pretty standard kind of badges for turning up, for doing a course, that kind of thing. But we've got a lot of other badges, like the one that I mentioned there, which are stealth badges. Now, a stealth badge is when the person who is earning the badge didn't know they were going to get it. So they haven't decided to go for it. There hasn't been like, I'm working towards this badge. You just get it. Yeah. So, for example, this one might be someone just comes along and does something in the community and they get the badge, and it wasn't like they were trying to do that. They were just exhibiting a pro-social behavior. So if you go to badges.community now or at any point in the future, you can do two things. You can sign up to the community and just say hello, and you'll get a badge for just introducing yourself and why you're weird. And also Badge Wiki, which for the last 5-6 years has been a knowledge base for the Open Badges community. Lots and lots of information there from all around the web, trying to bring it together into one place. Anyone can edit that. You're very, very welcome to turn up and join our kind of editathons, or just go ahead and edit it yourself. Don, who's sitting there in the audience, wave Don. This is Don. I took this screenshot yesterday. He's on the Keep Badges Weird community. Now you can see that Don's actually been issued badges last week because Don comes along to our Badge Wiki barn raising calls. So the idea is that we're trying to build this knowledge base together, and we're recognizing one another as we do that. And one of the ways that we recognize each other is that you're an author, so you're deciding to write a page on the wiki. There's also one for being a wiki gardener, so like organizing stuff and making it easier to read. Or there's a wiki fairy for making everything look nicer and just adding images and making sure that it looks quite nice. But Don's got one for coming along on 5 different occasions to this call, yeah? So not just turning up once, but turning up time after time, yeah? Which is something which we need to recognize, the people who are always there and can be relied upon. So that's another kind of badge, and we're just adding these as we go along. So I haven't prepared loads and loads of slides and have loads of time to do it yesterday, but I just wanted to give you a flavor of the kind of recognition that we're putting into action in a community that we invented end of last year. We've got about 300 members. We're trying to do recognition in action, and we're just trying to show how open recognition can be a force for good within a community who are trying to help one another, trying to learn about what it means to get better at issuing badges, and what it means to get better at communities of practice. And we're just doing that as a community of practice, issuing badges for open recognition. You can find out more about the Keep Badges Weird community and Badge Wiki if you go to badges.community. You can email me at any time. I will always reply. You can find out more about our co-op on Twitter, or if you're on the Fediverse, like all the cool people, you can contact us there. Thanks very much.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions for Doug. Okay. Ralphie is going to do the next presentation. Next? Who's next? Question, yes, yes. Question?
More of a humorous question. I've signed up. Where can I get the beer tasting challenge?
The beer tasting badge. Well, we need to. Yeah. Oh, the whiskey one. We need to catch you in action drinking whiskey on a Zoom call first. But once we've done that, it'll be yours.
By the way, I do have actual badges. I do have Harmony Keeper and Hofmeister.
Oh.
Put those out in front near the coffee. So if you find yourself keeping Harmony, pick up one, and also if you help somebody out, pick up the Hofmeister one.
So for those who didn't hear that,
We have actual physical badges.
you know how you can get patches that you sew onto like bags and coats and that kind of thing? A wonderful thing to do is not just issue people digital badges, but also giving them the patch that they can see in real life. So we've got those Harmony Keeper badge, the Hofmeister badge, whatever. We've got those patches, which Julie has brought. We were over at Badge Summit in the US last month, and so we've got some of those. We've also got a badge for keeping badges weird at this event, at ePIC. So we've got a badge for keeping badges weird there, so you can claim that badge as well. Any other questions? Oh, we've got one there.
Hi, thank you. I was wondering if you could tell us more about how and where the badges are stored, and if they're permanent, and how they're linked to somebody's identity.
Okay. So it's using version 2.1 of the Open Badges standard. Participate, as with other organizations, are involved with what's called a plug fest. So they're looking at version 3 of the standard. Version 3 of the standard, as Nate was talking about yesterday, allows for decentralized identifiers. But because it's using version 2.1 of the Open Badges standard, it's still tied to email addresses. So Participate allows you to create what are called credentials on the platform, but you can issue badges for open recognition. And so that is tied to your email identity, but as things evolve with the standard, you then will be able to have decentralized identifiers, so you'll have your wallet and be able to control that in a way which isn't tied to your email address. But version 2.1 of the standard, although you don't have to use an email address, almost everyone uses an email address as the identifier. Yeah. Any other questions before I disappear from the stage?
Look, I have a question. Nate over here.
Don't ask me hard questions, Nate.
No, this is an easy question. Keeping badges weird is all about participation, and not just participation in earning badges, as we've talked about. Do you have any recommendations for what people could do to get started, issuing this type of badge? What they should think about, or any of the nitty-gritty steps that they need to take?
I have lots of thoughts about this. How long have we got? If you're very new to issuing badges, there's two things, when we kind of consult on this, there's two things which often happen when people are new to badges. The first thing they do is they make the first badge really hard to get. Yeah, as if if you're going to earn a badge from me, it's going to be hard to get. Almost like the strictest parent in the world. It's going to have to be worthwhile. The second thing they do is they then recognize, we need to do more than one badge, and so literally everybody does bronze, silver, and gold, across the entire board around the world. That's what seems to happen. So what I'd like to encourage you, and thank you for the question, Nate, is I'd like to encourage you to think about what is the smallest possible badge, the smallest possible first badge that you could issue to someone, which is going to have value to them. Now, quite often, that's going to be a participation badge. And there's a lot of people who will say, what's the point of a participation badge? What does it actually show? Well, like I showed on that diagram before, you are not always in control of how important that badge is to somebody else. If you issue a participation badge, it might show your employer that you actually went to the conference that they were paying for you to go to. It might be that you were in the room when open badges became a thing. It might be that you met someone there. There's lots of reasons why you do that. The other thing, in a community of practice, if you issue a really easy to get badge, is it gives someone their first taste of what a badge is, and it welcomes them to the community. It says that you're welcome here, this is what we do here, and you're very welcome, you're part of this community. So I would start there, and make sure that you issue really simple to use badges. But the next thing, and this is the hard bit, and this is kind of the product design bit of it, is you need to figure out what your users, what your community members, what your participants actually want and need. So you have to do the user research. You have to figure out what problems they have, what they need to be able to show, often at moments of transition. What do they need to be able to show to other people to be able to do the things that they want to do in life? So it's great that we've got weird and wonderful badges, but what does that mean in practice for people? It might mean that they can show that to someone else, but also a really valuable thing is that they feel validated, they feel seen. And part of recognition is feeling seen in the world and making sure that you want to they should continue doing those behaviors, those things where they've gone out of their way to do things. We had Denise standing here yesterday talking about clock, and that change in the world, which was so hard to bring about, that takes belief, and that takes people believing in other people. And so badges along the way to encourage people is a way of doing that as well, which is a very long answer to you, Nate, but I hope that was helpful.
Merci.
Okay.
Merci, Doug.
Thank you.
Big applause.